Faith can move mountains. Sometimes this saying is so true that you can hardly believe it yourself. Every person hopes for a miracle occasionally, but only some people encounter it. There are situations, however, where only a gift can help. What happened to a man and his daughter can undoubtedly be classified as a miracle. Many people have tears of emotion in their eyes when they think of what little Katya was able to move with her singing. She performed nothing less than a miracle. Her faith not only moved mountains, it moved an entire mountain range. Little Katya undoubtedly had a tough start for the first 7 years of her life. Her parents were not wealthy and lived in very modest circumstances. However, despite all this, they were not poor because they had each other and the faith in God that closely united the three of them. Little Katya's faith was so great that it even got her into trouble at school. Her classmates didn't understand why Katya believed in God so much, went to church every Sunday with her parents, and never missed a festival or event of her church community. The other children teased her and didn't want to play with her. Katya, however, could care less. The little girl was so strong and her faith was so solid that she continued and remained faithful to her faith at all times, no matter what. At the time, she did not know what fates were in store for her. Her parents, who were wildly convinced of their daughter's singing abilities, always motivated Katya to sing. When she was old enough, they enrolled Katya in the church choir, which she supported with sincere enthusiasm. Not only her parents, but also other members of the church community noticed little Katya's incredible voice. Even then, many people listened to her enthusiastically. Her voice brought joy to the congregation and made her listeners' hearts soar. Unfortunately, Katya's heart was to be broken for the first time soon after and exposed to endless suffering that can hardly be put into words. At that time, the family was still terribly poor. However, Katya did not notice this much because her parents always gave everything to provide their daughter with a warm and sheltered childhood. Inwardly, however, her parents were consumed by the fear of their existence. As much as faith can be a support, there are other solutions to all problems. Katya's parents were plagued by such great fears about a promising future for their daughter that they both tried to find a way to end their financial woes. To earn more money for the family, the mother of little Katya left the apartment one night to pursue a better-paying job in the larger city. Instead of a new job and happiness, she found only the terrible opposite, which was to cause deep sorrow in her husband and daughter. The mother had a severe accident that very night. She was immediately taken to the nearest hospital. Katya and her father were greatly concerned for their beloved wife and mother because they didn't know where she was. So the little girl's father set out to find his wife. Katya, who was now all alone with herself and her worries, prayed to God for her parents, especially her mother. So the days passed, and Katya was terribly afraid. Only through her love for God did she not feel utterly alone in the world. When her father finally found his beloved wife in a hospital, the doctors told him that his wife was in horrible shape. Her life was hanging by a thread. The accident had damaged her lungs so badly that only a donor lung could save her life. Little Katya's father immediately broke down and cried as he had never cried in his entire life. He'd always tried to be strong for his daughter and give her confidence and irrepressible faith. Still, in those dark hours, even he did not always manage to be strong for his daughter. They both prayed for their wife and mother to be saved by a donation as soon as possible. But all hope and all praying did not help. While waiting for a donor lung and a miracle, Katya's mother died from the accident. For the first time in her young life, Katya lost her courage and almost lost her faith. She wondered how God could allow such a thing to happen. How could he just let her mother die, whom she needed so much and who had always been a good person? God was there to protect people, not cause them suffering. After this stroke of fate, Katya turned her back on the church and God. She never wanted to go to church again and never wanted to sing for the church choir. the little girl who had believed in God so much had lost every spark of her faith. As much as her father tried to convince her to accompany him to church, he could not. On the other hand, faith helped him come out of the deep valley of sorrow because he had to be there for his daughter and support her. At the same time, he was convinced that he would succeed in bringing Katya back into the bosom of the church community. But until then, it would be a long road that would get another problematic trial, especially for his daughter. The years passed, and the pious girl became a wild rebel. She constantly got into trouble and caused her father great grief. Finally, he tried to bring her back on the right path and forgave her mean words. Katya, however, was convinced that no punishment on earth could hit her as hard as the death of her beloved mother. But life taught her that things can always get worse, no matter how much you're already down. Her father worked hard and was a diligent craftsman who wanted to be a good role model for his daughter. One day he was again at the construction site when fate struck mercilessly. Katya's father lost his balance at the height of the 5th floor and fell into the depths. He'd fallen so hard that his skull was fractured and instantly fell into a coma. It bordered on a miracle that he had survived the fall at all. But Katya saw it much more as a confirmation of the cruelty of life. For her, the world collapsed even further. Now she was really all alone. Her mother was dead, and she didn't know if she would ever see her father again. The financial hardships remained, and the little girl finally ended up on the street because she could not take care of her family's home. So from then on, she wandered around the neighborhood, which was gray and cold, begging, wearing untidy clothes. She found herself all alone. She was starving and had lost all her strength when a stranger approached her. She'd already prepared to follow her mother and wait for her father, who would surely die soon. The man saw little Katya's tears, dried them, and gave the girl some bread to help her regain her strength. He asked her what she was doing alone on the street and listened to the story of her lost faith. The man comforted her and explained that life was full of trials. As difficult as they were sometimes, she should still not lose her faith in God and learn to overcome adversity because God would always be with her. Katya was amazed by the man's words, for they seemed very familiar to her. The man suddenly disappeared when she realized that these were the words her mother had always said to her. He was gone as quickly as he had appeared, but he had moved a lot in the little girl. For a moment, she had wondered if she imagined this encounter. Then her mind was made up, and she ran as fast as possible to the hospital where her father was in a coma. Without hesitation, she began to sing in the hospital room. She sang a song of praise to God, and for the first time since her mother's death, she enchanted people with her voice. She sang with enthusiasm and deep conviction for her restored faith, especially for her father. When she finished, thunderous applause awaited her from the medical staff devotedly listening to her. But at the same time, much more was waiting for her. A miracle, because when she approached her father afterward, he grabbed her arm. He had awakened from his coma. Katya had regained her faith and had performed a miracle through her singing. Her faith had moved more than mountains. She had moved a whole mountain range with her faith despite her suffering. From then on, for all those present, she was the angel who awakened a person from a coma with her miraculous singing. Yet she was, first and foremost, a 7-year-old girl who had found her way back to her faith to save her father. Isn't it much nicer to believe in miracles? Do you think it better to believe in miracles or deny them? If we think about it, we've already encountered them once or twice, haven't we? We're interested in your opinion. Let us know in the comments.